I was in Belfast. I was a miserable liberal Methodist minister, and I couldn't help it. I probably didn't know any better. I really wasn't sure if this was God's word, and so that leads to a lot of trouble. But one gentleman that I met, I was working in a city mission, and city mission work in Belfast or in the European cities is involved a lot in helping poor people who have not enough food, not enough clothing, and then of course it's a very evangelistic outreach on Sundays and Saturdays. So I was involved in a city mission and was involved at times in doing funerals in different parts of the inner city. And one of these funerals that I did, I was a young Methodist minister who really knew very little, but I was involved in going to this house and conducting the funeral. And there was a little pastor there who was doing a prayer. I was doing the big thing and he was doing the little prayer. And of course it was a case of, the old saint was there and the young clod was here. And so I discovered that this man's name was Pastor Evans and was just a saintly man, and an evangelical preacher, and had been for years in Belfast, and just one of those saints that you rarely meet. And I got into conversation with him, and we met several times after this and talked. And he told me he was Welsh and had that Welsh lilt to his voice. And he told me about a certain situation. He presumably knew where I was and knew what God had to say to me through him. And he told me a story about a barman who was converted in his services. He had a little hall called the Iron Hall. I think because it had an iron roof and the rain battered on it all the time. So he had a barman that was converted in the services, and prayed through and received Jesus and came into a real relationship with him. And then he said, Pastor Evans, I'm a barman. I serve in a bar in Belfast. I suppose I have to give up my work. And I thought, Evans, being an evangelistic preacher, he would say, sure, that's the devil's place. You should be well out of the bar and get into some Christian work of some kind. But Evans replied to him in that kind of Welsh voice, no, good boy, no, don't leave the bar. You stay in your job, and you pray for your customers, and you witness to them. And that's exactly what the guy did, and of course got fired eventually for giving out tracts to his customers. But it was interesting to me, as that kind of a liberal guy in those years, to realize that here was a man who surely must stick closer to this word than anybody else I knew. And yet when it came to that situation, he said, get your relationship with Jesus right, and then do what he tells you. Don't get railroaded into legalism either in your beliefs or in your practices. And loved ones, it seems to me, while we listen to God's word and take that attitude, let not him who eats despise him who abstains, for God welcomes him. While we take that attitude not only to each other, but especially to ourselves, the life of Jesus and the life of God will remain alive inside us in a sensitive and gracious way. Whenever we turn from that daily interview with Jesus and we begin to hammer out these views that all Christians have and that I have, therefore I'm a Christian, or these things that all Christians do and that I do, therefore I'm a Christian, the whole beauty of Christianity disappears from your life. And you become one of those hard-nosed evangelicals that drive people away from Jesus instead of drawing them to him.